The night along the Nile is very quiet. It is the kind of quiet that feels soft, almost like a blanket gently resting over the land. The river moves slowly in the darkness, its surface smooth and patient. There is no rush here, no sudden sound, only the faint whisper of water touching the edges of mud and reeds. Far above, the sky stretches wide and deep. The stars are clear and steady. They do not flicker much in this dry air. They simply remain, calm and distant, as they have for countless nights before. Near the edge of a small village, a simple house rests low against the earth. The walls are made from mud brick, shaped by hand and dried under the sun many days ago. They hold the warmth from the day, even now, long after the sun has disappeared. The roof is flat, made from layers of reeds and packed earth. It is strong enough to stand, but simple enough to build again if needed. Inside this house, a man sleeps. He is an Egyptian worker. His life is quiet, steady, and shaped by the rhythm of the Nile. He does not think of himself as important, and yet his hands help build the world around him. His name is not spoken here, because he could be many men. He lies on a simple mat woven from plant fibers. It is not soft, but it is familiar. His body knows its shape. A folded piece of cloth rests beneath his head. Around him, the room is still. There are no bright lights, only darkness, soft and deep. In one corner, a small clay jar holds water. Near it, a basket rests quietly, filled with grain from the last harvest. A few simple tools lean against the wall. They are worn from use, but cared for. Everything in this space has a purpose. Nothing more, nothing less. The air is warm, but not uncomfortable. The thick walls keep the inside steady, holding the night in a gentle balance. Outside, the faint sound of insects rises and falls like a distant breath. For now, the worker sleeps. His breathing is slow, even, calm. This is the deepest part of the night, when the world feels paused, when even the river seems to move more quietly. Time passes gently here. There is no need to measure it. Slowly, very slowly, the first change begins. It is not seen at first, only felt. The air shifts just slightly. The darkness softens at its edges. Somewhere far away, the horizon begins to loosen its hold on the night. Inside the house, the worker stirs. Not fully awake, just a small movement, a quiet turn of the body, a slow breath that deepens for a moment. Then stillness again. Outside, a faint breeze moves through the reeds. It brushes lightly against them, creating a soft rustling sound. It is a gentle sound, one that has repeated itself every morning for years beyond counting. The Nile continues its steady flow. It does not hurry. It does not stop. It simply moves, as it always has. The first bird has not yet called. The village is still asleep, but the world is beginning to wake. Inside the small house, the worker's eyes open. Not suddenly, not sharply, just slowly, as if waking is not a single moment, but a quiet process. He does not sit up right away. He lies still for a short time, looking into the dim space around him. His thoughts are simple. There is no rush of worry, no heavy thinking, only the awareness of another day beginning. This is how most days begin for him, without noise, without urgency. He listens to the silence, to the soft breathing of others in the house, to the distant river. These sounds are familiar. They bring a quiet sense of comfort, a feeling that everything is as it should be. After a while, he slowly sits up. The movement is unhurried.
His body knows this rhythm well. It has followed it for many years, rising before the sun, beginning work before the heat grows strong. He places his feet on the ground. The floor is cool beneath them. It is made from packed earth, smooth from use. It holds the memory of countless footsteps, each step light, steady, and repeated across generations. He stands, gently. There is no sudden motion, only a quiet beginning. He reaches for a simple cloth, wrapping it around his body. The fabric is light, made from linen. It is comfortable in the warm air, easy to move in, easy to wear through long hours of work. Nearby, another figure shifts slightly, a family member still resting. The worker does not speak. There is no need. The silence is not empty. It is shared. He moves toward the doorway. The opening is simple, covered by a hanging cloth that keeps out dust and heat during the day. He lifts it gently and steps outside. The air greets him softly. It is cooler than it will be later, fresh in a quiet way. The sky has begun to change. It is no longer fully dark. A faint gray blue stretches along the horizon. The stars near that edge have started to fade, slowly giving way to the coming light. The village remains still. Low houses sit close together, their shapes soft in the early light. Paths between them are quiet. No footsteps yet, no voices, only the faint sounds of nature. A bird calls once, then again. It is a small sound, but it marks the beginning. The worker pauses. He stands just outside his home, looking toward the river. He cannot see all of it from here, but he knows where it is. He feels its presence, constant and reassuring. The Nile is not just water. It is life. It shapes everything. His work, his food, his time, even his rest. He begins to walk, slow steps along the narrow path. The ground is firm beneath him. The air carries the faint smell of earth and water, mixed with something green and growing. Other doors begin to open. Other figures step quietly into the morning. No one speaks loudly. Some nod gently. Some simply continue walking. There is a shared understanding in these early moments, a quiet agreement to begin the day without breaking the calm. The sky grows a little lighter. The shapes of trees and reeds become clearer. The outline of the river begins to appear, smooth and wide in the distance. The worker continues forward, each step steady, each breath calm. This is the beginning of his day, and it begins the same way it always has, slowly, gently, without hurry.
The path to the river is familiar. It is a narrow line of earth, pressed firm by many footsteps over many years. Each morning the worker walks the same way, and each morning it feels almost the same. Not exactly the same, but close enough to bring comfort. The ground beneath his feet is cool. There is a slight dampness in the air, carried from the Nile. It settles gently on the skin, soft and quiet. The scent of water mixes with the smell of soil and growing plants. It is a simple scent, earthy, calm. He walks without rushing. There is no need to hurry yet. The sun has not risen, and the heat has not begun. These early moments are some of the most peaceful parts of the day. The world feels open, still, and patient. Ahead, the river slowly becomes clearer. At first, it is just a darker shape against the land. Then, as the light grows, its surface begins to reflect the sky. Soft gray-blue turns into a faint silver glow. The water looks smooth, almost like polished stone. A few other workers are already near the edge. They stand quietly or move slowly, preparing for the day.
Some bend down to touch the water. Others carry small containers, filling them carefully. The worker approaches the riverbank. The earth here is softer. It gives slightly under his feet. He steps carefully, used to the feeling. The mud is cool and smooth, shaped by the rise and fall of the water. He kneels. Slowly he reaches down and lets his fingers touch the Nile. The water is cool. It moves gently around his hand, never still, never forceful. It has traveled far, carrying with it silt and life from distant lands. It does not speak, but it is always present. He washes his hands, then his face. The water refreshes him in a quiet way. It does not shock or startle. It simply awakens him softly, like the light in the sky. Nearby, a bird lands at the edge of the water. It moves carefully, watching, then dips its beak and drinks. Its reflection trembles slightly with each ripple. The worker stands again. He takes a slow breath. The air is changing. It is becoming lighter, warmer, but still gentle. The first hints of sunlight are beginning to spread across the horizon, touching the edges of clouds and land. Behind him, more people arrive. The village is waking. Soft footsteps, quiet voices, the faint sound of clay jars being set down. Nothing loud, nothing sudden, just the steady beginning of many small routines. Each person has their own work, but they all begin here, with water, with silence, with the slow arrival of the day. The worker picks up a small container. He fills it carefully, watching the water rise inside. There is no waste. Every drop matters. The Nile gives, but it must be respected. He turns back toward the village. The path feels slightly different now. The light has changed it. Where there was shadow, there is now soft color. The ground shows its texture more clearly. Small stones, pressed into the earth, catch the early light. As he walks, the sun begins to rise. It does not appear all at once. It slowly lifts itself above the horizon, sending thin rays across the land. The light is warm, but still soft. It touches the tops of houses, the edges of trees, the surface of the river. Everything begins to glow gently. The worker does not stop, but he feels the change. The day has truly begun. A light breeze moves through the village. It carries the faint sound of movement, someone sweeping a doorway, someone speaking softly to a child, the quiet clink of pottery. Life is returning, step by step. He reaches his home again. The entrance is just as he left it, simple, still, waiting. Inside, the room is no longer completely dark. The light from outside filters in, soft and pale. It touches the walls, revealing their rough texture. A family member is awake now, moving quietly, preparing for the day in their own way. There is no rush of conversation, only small sounds. The worker sets down the water. He sits for a moment, not to rest, but to pause. This pause is part of the routine, a small space between waking and working, a moment where the body settles and the mind remains calm. Soon food will be prepared, simple food, bread perhaps, made from grain that was grown not far from here, ground, shaped, and baked with care. The worker looks toward the doorway. The light is stronger now. The sun has climbed higher, though still low in the sky. The warmth is beginning to grow, slowly but surely. This warmth will stay for many hours. It will shape the work. It will guide the pace. Everything follows the sun. He stands again. There is work to do, fields to tend, stone to carry, tasks that are simple but not easy. He does not think of them as heavy. They are just part of life, as natural as the river, as steady as the sunrise. He steps outside once more. This time, the village is awake, not loudly, but clearly. People move along the paths, some carrying tools, some speaking in low voices, some simply walking, like him, toward the place where their work waits. The day stretches ahead, long, warm, predictable, and in that predictability there is a quiet kind of peace. The worker walks forward, into the light, into the rhythm he knows so well, and with each step the world continues its slow, steady motion, unchanging, endless, calm.
The morning light now rests gently over the village. It is no longer the soft gray of early dawn. It has become warmer, more golden, though still kind to the eyes. The shadows are long and quiet, stretching across the ground like thin lines drawn by the sun. The worker steps back inside his home. The air within is calm and still. The thick mud walls hold the coolness from the night, keeping the space comfortable even as the outside begins to warm. Light enters slowly through the doorway, spreading across the floor in a soft shape. A small fire has been prepared. It is not large, only a few pieces of fuel carefully placed. The flame is gentle, steady, and controlled. It does not crackle loudly. It simply burns, giving just enough heat. Nearby, simple food is being readied. Grain ground into flour has already been shaped into flat pieces of bread. They are placed near the heat, warming slowly. The smell begins to rise, quiet but familiar. It is a warm, comforting scent that fills the small room. The worker sits down again. He does not rush to eat. There is always a moment before the first meal, a pause where the body settles fully into the morning. The sounds around him are soft, the shifting of clay, the movement of hands, the low whisper of fire. A small bowl is placed near him. Inside there may be a simple mixture, perhaps crushed grain softened with water, perhaps a bit of vegetable grown not far from the house. The food is not rich or complex. It is steady. It is enough. He takes the bread. It is warm to the touch. The surface is slightly rough, shaped by hand, marked by the small details of its making. He breaks a piece slowly. The motion is calm, unhurried. Then he eats. The taste is simple. Grain, earth, warmth. It fills the body without drawing attention. There is no need to think about it. Eating is part of the rhythm, just like walking, just like breathing. Around him, others eat as well. No one speaks loudly. A few quiet words may pass between them, but even these are soft, almost blending into the air. The morning does not call for strong voices. Outside, the village continues to move. Footsteps pass by the doorway. Distant voices rise and fall gently. Somewhere a tool touches the ground with a dull, steady sound. The day is beginning to take shape. The worker continues his meal. Each bite is slow, each movement small. There is no excess, nothing wasted. When he drinks, it is from the water brought earlier, cool and clean. It settles easily, refreshing without effort. The meal does not last long, but it is complete. When he finishes, he does not stand immediately. Instead, he remains still for a moment, letting the quiet return. The body feels ready now, awake but calm, prepared but not rushed. He places what remains aside. Everything is kept with care. Bowls, tools, small objects, all return to their place. This order is important, not as a rule, but as a habit, a way of keeping life steady and clear. The fire continues to burn softly. It will be used again later. Nothing here is wasted, not time, not effort, not even heat. The worker rises slowly. The light has grown stronger. Inside the house, the shadows have shifted. Outside, the brightness has spread across the ground. The day is moving forward, just as it always does. He steps toward the tools. They rest against the wall, worn but strong, each one shaped for a purpose, each one used many times before. There is no decoration, no extra detail, only function. He reaches for one. His hand fits it naturally. There is no adjustment needed. The tool feels like an extension of his work, something known and understood without thought. He holds it for a moment, not as a test, but as a quiet acknowledgement. This is what the day will be built upon. Simple effort, repeated motion, steady time. Behind him, the house remains calm. The small fire, the resting bowls, the quiet air, all unchanged, waiting for his return later. He steps outside once more. This time, the warmth is clear. The sun has risen higher now, casting a fuller light across the village. The ground feels different under his feet, no longer cool, but gently warming. People move with more purpose now. Some are already on their way to the fields. Others gather tools, adjusting them quietly. A few stand together, speaking in low, steady voices. There is no rush, but there is direction. Each person knows where to go. Each person understands the day ahead. The worker begins to walk again, this time not toward the river, but toward his work. The path leads away from the cluster of homes, out toward the open land. The fields stretch in the distance, shaped by the cycles of the Nile. Some areas are rich and dark, ready for planting. Others show signs of recent work. The earth here is important. It holds life. It gives food. It asks for care. As he walks, the sounds change. The quiet of early morning is replaced by the soft rhythm of activity. Tools meeting soil, feet pressing into ground, the distant call of someone guiding others. Still, everything remains calm. Nothing is sharp. Nothing is overwhelming. The air carries these sounds gently, blending them into a steady background. The worker continues forward. His pace is even, his breathing steady. The tool rests easily in his hand. The day is fully open now, and he steps into it without hesitation. Not because it is easy, but because it is known. And in what is known, there is peace. The land stretches wide beyond the village. It opens slowly, without sharp edges, blending into the horizon under the steady morning light. The Nile rests not far away, its presence always felt, even when not directly seen. The soil here carries its gift, dark and rich, shaped by water that comes and goes with quiet certainty. The worker steps onto the field. The ground feels different here, softer in some places, firmer in others. It holds the marks of past work, lines drawn by tools, footprints pressed into the earth, small ridges formed by careful hands. He pauses for a moment, not to rest, but to take in the space. The air is warm now, though still gentle. A light breeze moves across the open land, brushing against the surface of the soil, carrying with it the faint scent of water and growing things. Around him, other workers are already in place. They are spread out across the field, each one at a distance, each one focused on their task. No one stands idle, no one rushes ahead. There is a quiet balance in the way they move, like a slow rhythm shared between them. The worker lowers his tool to the ground. The first movement of the day begins. He presses it into the soil, gently at first, then with steady pressure. The earth responds. It gives way, slowly, breaking apart under the force. The sound is soft, a dull, low tone as metal or wood meets soil. It is not loud, but it repeats again and again, forming a rhythm that fills the air. He lifts the tool.
then presses again. Each motion is the same. Each motion is slightly different. This is the nature of the work, repetition without exact sameness. He does not think about each movement. His body remembers. The arms rise and fall. The hands adjust their grip without looking. The feet shift slightly to keep balance. Everything flows in a quiet pattern. The soil turns over in small sections, dark beneath the surface, moist in places where the water has reached, drier in others, waiting for the next cycle. The worker moves forward slowly, step by step. Each section of ground is worked, then left behind as he continues. There is no need to look back. The progress is steady, even if it feels small in each moment. Nearby, another worker moves in a similar way. Their motions are not exactly matched, but they follow the same rhythm. Tools rise and fall at slightly different times, creating a soft, overlapping pattern of sound. There are no sharp commands, no loud directions, only the quiet understanding of what must be done. The sun climbs higher. Its warmth becomes more noticeable now. It rests on the back of the worker's shoulders, on his arms, on the ground beneath his feet. It does not burn yet. It simply grows stronger, slowly and steadily. A bead of sweat forms, then another. They move down his skin without drawing attention. He does not stop to wipe them away often. The body continues its work, accepting the heat as part of the day. The breeze returns from time to time. It passes lightly over the field, cooling the skin for a brief moment before moving on. These small changes in the air bring quiet relief, though they do not last long. The worker continues. Lift, press, turn, step. The pattern repeats, again and again. Time passes in this way, not measured in hours, but in movement, in the number of rows completed, in the steady change of the land. A bird crosses the sky above. Its shadow moves quickly over the ground, then disappears. The worker does not look up for long. His focus remains on the soil, on the work beneath his hands. The field begins to show its change. Where the ground was once flat and untouched, it now carries the marks of effort. Lines form, sections shift, the earth becomes ready for what will come next. This is only the beginning. There will be planting, there will be tending, there will be waiting. But for now, there is only this, the breaking of the soil, the steady preparation, the quiet work that must be done before anything else can grow. The worker adjusts his grip. The tool feels slightly heavier now, not because it has changed, but because time has passed. Muscles begin to feel the effort, slowly, without strain, but with awareness. He does not stop. Not yet. There is still more to do before the first pause of the day. Around him, the others continue as well. No one speaks much. A few quiet words may pass between those who are closer, but they are brief and soft. The work itself fills the space. It is enough. The sun continues its slow rise. The shadows shorten. The light becomes more bright, more direct. The warmth settles deeper into the land. Still, the rhythm does not change. The worker moves forward, one step at a time, one motion at a time. There is no need to think of the whole field, only the small piece in front of him, only the next movement, and then the next. In this way, the work feels endless, but also simple. There is no beginning to worry about, no end to reach too quickly, only the steady middle, a place where time moves quietly, almost unnoticed. The worker's breathing remains even. In, out, in, out. It matches the movement of his body. It matches the pace of the day. The Nile flows not far away. Though unseen, it is always present. Its water will return again. Its cycles will continue. And this work, done now, will meet that water in time. For now, the field accepts each movement, each mark, each quiet effort. And the worker continues, without hurry, without pause, moving gently through the morning as it slowly unfolds around him.
The morning continues to unfold. The sun has climbed higher now, no longer resting near the horizon. Its light is stronger, more direct, spreading evenly across the open land. The soft coolness of early day has slowly faded, replaced by a steady warmth that settles into the soil, into the air, and into the bodies of those working. The worker continues his motion. Lift, press, turn, step. The rhythm remains the same, but the feeling has changed. The tool feels heavier now, not by weight, but by repetition. The arms move with the same pattern, but with a deeper awareness of effort. The body begins to notice the work more clearly. Still, there is no struggle, only a slow, steady continuation. Around him, the field is no longer quiet in the same way it was before. The soft sounds of labor have grown slightly fuller. Tools meet earth again and again, creating a low, steady pattern that blends into the warm air. The breeze is lighter now. It comes less often. When it does, it passes quickly, offering only a brief moment of relief before the stillness returns. The worker takes another step forward, then another. But slowly, something shifts. It is not sudden. It is not spoken loudly. It is simply understood. The time for a short pause has come. He finishes the small section in front of him. One last press of the tool, one last turn of the soil. Then he stops. The stillness feels different now. Not like the quiet of night or the softness of early morning, but a stillness that comes after movement, a pause that is earned through steady effort. He stands upright, slowly. His back straightens. His arms rest at his sides. For a moment, he does nothing. He simply breathes. The air is warm as it enters his lungs, but it is still calm, still gentle. Nearby, others have also begun to pause. One by one, the movement across the field slows. Tools are lifted from the ground and held loosely. Some are set down carefully. Some remain in hand, resting. No signal is given, no call is made. The pause happens naturally, like the turning of the day itself. The worker walks a short distance to the side. There is a place where the ground is slightly raised, firmer, less worked. A small patch where he can stand without sinking into the softer soil. He sets his tool down, gently. It rests where he places it, quiet and still. From a nearby spot, he retrieves his water. The container is simple, made of clay. Its surface is warm from the sun, but the water inside still holds a bit of coolness from earlier in the day. He lifts it slowly, takes a drink. The water moves easily, refreshing in a quiet way. It does not shock the body. It simply settles into it, easing the dryness brought by the heat. He drinks again, then lowers the container. There is no hurry. Water is taken with care. Nearby, another worker sits down, not heavily, just a slow lowering of the body onto the ground. Others remain standing, shifting their weight from one foot to the other, letting their muscles rest in small ways. A few quiet words are spoken, soft, brief. Voices do not rise above the calm of the field. They blend into the warm air, carried away gently, leaving no sharp edge behind. The worker looks out across the land. The field stretches wide, now marked by the work of many hands.
Lines of turned soil create subtle patterns, each one a sign of effort, of time spent in steady motion. Beyond the field, the faint line of the Nile can be seen. Its surface reflects the sunlight more strongly now, a bright shimmer in the distance. It continues its movement, unchanged by the work taking place nearby. The worker watches for a moment, not thinking deeply, just observing. The simple presence of the river brings a quiet sense of balance. It reminds him, without words, that everything moves in cycles: work and rest, heat and coolness, day and night. He takes another breath, slow, even. The pause continues. It is not long, but it is enough. The body begins to settle again. The weight of the arms feels lighter. The tension in the muscles softens. A bird calls from somewhere nearby. The sound is clear, but not loud. It echoes gently across the open space, then fades. One of the workers shifts their tool. Another takes a final drink of water. The moment of rest begins to close. Again, there is no signal, no command, only a quiet return. The worker bends slightly. He reaches for his tool. His hand finds its place without effort. The grip feels familiar, steady. He lifts it once more. The sun continues to rise. The warmth deepens, but the rhythm returns. Lift, press, turn, step. The field receives each movement as before. Nothing has changed, and yet the pause has made everything feel just a little easier, a little steadier. The worker moves forward again. His pace is the same, unhurried, consistent. The day continues to open slowly, like a long path stretching ahead. There will be more work, more pauses, more quiet moments between movement. For now, there is only this: the steady return to effort, the calm repetition, the gentle balance between doing and resting. And under the growing light of the sun, the worker continues, just as he has before, moving softly through the hours as they pass without noise.
The day moves forward without pause. The sun has climbed steadily, now sitting higher in the wide open sky. Its light no longer feels soft in the same way it did in the early morning. It has become stronger, fuller, resting directly on the land without much shadow to soften it. Across the field, the shapes of things begin to change. The long shadows from earlier have grown shorter. They gather closer to the feet of those who stand and work, no longer stretching far across the ground. The earth appears brighter now, its surface more exposed under the steady light. The worker continues his motion. Lift, press, turn, step. Each movement follows the last, steady and even. The rhythm has settled deeply into his body. It no longer feels like something he must think about. It simply happens, quietly, naturally. The soil responds as it did before, breaking gently under the pressure of the tool, turning over to reveal the darker layers beneath. In some places it is slightly damp, holding traces of water from the Nile's reach. In others it is dry and light, shifting easily with each motion. The worker adjusts without thinking, a firmer press where the ground resists, a lighter touch where it yields. His body understands these small differences. Around him, the field is alive with quiet effort. Workers move at their own pace, but the overall rhythm remains the same. No one rushes ahead, no one falls far behind. There is a balance that forms naturally, shaped by shared work and familiar patterns. The air has grown warmer. It rests on the skin more heavily now. The breeze, when it comes, is softer than before. It no longer carries the same coolness of early morning. Instead, it moves like a gentle wave of warmth,
passing over the field without changing it much. The worker's breathing remains steady. In, out, in, out. It matches the pace of his movement, slow and controlled. A thin layer of dust clings lightly to his skin. It gathers with each step, with each turn of the soil. It is not uncomfortable. It is simply part of the work, part of the land itself. He continues forward. The section of field before him grows smaller as he works through it. What once felt wide and untouched is now shaped and prepared, one small piece at a time. Time passes quietly. There is no need to count it. The position of the sun tells enough. Its height in the sky, its steady light, its warmth, all speak in a silent way, marking the slow movement toward the middle of the day. A bird circles high above. Its wings move slowly, carried by the air. It makes no sound that reaches the ground. It simply glides, then drifts away. The worker does not look up. His focus remains on the earth, on the small space in front of him, on the next movement and the next. Nearby, one of the workers pauses briefly, only for a moment. A slight shift of the body, a hand brushing away sweat. Then the rhythm returns. Nothing is broken, nothing is disturbed. The steady pattern continues. The sun climbs a little higher still. The light becomes more direct. The ground feels warmer beneath the feet. The air feels thicker, though still calm. The worker feels this change, not as discomfort, but as a quiet signal. The middle of the day is approaching. The time for a longer rest is not far, but before that, there is still work to complete. He finishes another section. The tool presses into the soil, turns it, lifts away, again and again, until the ground before him matches the rest, prepared, shaped, ready for what will come next. He steps forward into a new space, begins again. The repetition is steady, almost endless in feeling, and yet it never becomes overwhelming because it is broken into small parts, small movements, small pieces of land, each one completed in its own time. The worker's body moves with quiet understanding. There is no strain in his face, no sign of urgency, only focus, only calm effort. The field slowly changes under many hands. What was once untouched becomes ordered. What was once uneven becomes prepared. The land and the worker meet in this shared process, shaping each other in quiet ways. At last, another small pause comes. Not the longer rest yet, but a moment. The worker stands still again. He leans slightly on his tool, letting its weight support him. He takes a breath, then another. The air is warm, but still steady, still calm. He looks across the field once more. The work is clear now, the progress visible, though not complete. There is always more to be done, but there is no need to finish everything at once. The day allows for its own pace. He takes a small drink of water, just enough, then lowers the container. The moment passes. He returns to his place, and once again the rhythm begins. Lift, press, turn, step. The sun continues its slow path overhead. The field continues to receive the steady work, and the worker continues, quietly and without hurry, moving through the final stretch before the deeper rest of midday.
The sun has reached its highest place. It stands above the land without leaning to either side, resting in the center of the sky. Its light falls straight down, clear and full, leaving very little shadow behind. The field, the village, the distant line of the Nile, all are held under the same steady brightness. The work begins to slow. Not suddenly, not all at once,
but gently, as if the day itself is asking for a pause. The worker feels it, in the warmth that rests more deeply on his skin, in the quiet heaviness in his arms, in the steady rhythm of his breath, now asking for stillness. He finishes the small section before him. One last movement, one last turn of the soil. Then he stops. Around him, others begin to do the same. Tools are lifted from the ground. Some are placed down carefully. Some are carried a short distance toward the edge of the field. There is no command, no voice calling for rest, only the shared understanding that it is time. The worker walks slowly away from the place where he has been working. His steps are unhurried, measured. The ground feels warm beneath his feet now, holding the sun's heat. Nearby, there is a place where a small amount of shade gathers. It comes from a simple structure made from reeds and wood, or from the edge of a tree that stands quietly near the field. The shade is not deep, but it is enough to soften the light, enough to cool the air just a little. He moves toward it. Others gather there as well, each finding a place without crowding. They sit or stand, leaving space between them, respecting the quiet presence of one another. The worker lowers himself to the ground. Slowly, his body settles into the stillness. For a moment, he does nothing. He simply rests. The air in the shade feels different. Not cool, but softer, less direct. The brightness of the sun is filtered, turned into a gentle glow rather than a strong beam. He reaches for his food. It has been carried with him from the morning, simple, wrapped carefully. He opens it without hurry. Inside there is bread, perhaps a small portion of vegetables. Nothing more, nothing extra. He takes a piece, breaks it slowly, then eats. The act is calm, unhurried. Each bite is small. The body receives the food quietly, using it without drawing attention. Nearby, others eat as well. No one speaks loudly. A few quiet words pass between them, soft and brief, like the movement of air. Most remain silent, letting the stillness of midday settle around them. The field, just a short distance away, rests now. No tools move. No soil is turned. It lies still under the sun, holding the marks of the morning's work. Insects move lightly across the ground. A bird calls once, then falls silent again. The world has not stopped, but it has slowed. The worker drinks water. The clay container is warmer now, touched by the sun, but the water still brings a quiet sense of relief. He drinks slowly, letting it settle before taking another sip. He leans back slightly, supporting himself with his arms. His gaze moves across the land. The brightness of the day softens in the shade, making it easier to see the distance. The Nile glimmers faintly, a steady presence beyond the fields. It continues to flow, unchanged, unaffected by the pause. The worker does not think deeply. He does not plan. He does not count the hours. He simply exists in this moment of rest, breathing slowly, feeling the weight of the day settle, then gently lift. The sounds around him are few, a quiet shift of someone adjusting their position, the soft touch of wind moving through reeds, the distant call of a bird carried lightly through the air. These sounds do not interrupt the silence. They become part of it. Time passes. Not quickly, not slowly, just steadily. The worker finishes his food. There is nothing left to waste. He folds what remains of the cloth, places it carefully beside him. Then he sits still again. The body grows lighter in this rest. The arms recover. The legs relax. The steady effort of the morning fades into a quiet memory within the muscles. Some workers close their eyes, not fully asleep, but resting, letting the mind drift gently without thought. The worker remains awake, but his gaze softens, his breathing deepens slightly. The shade holds him in a quiet space separate from the strong light beyond. The sun remains high, but slowly, almost too slowly to notice, it begins its gradual movement. The light will change again, the shadows will return, the work will continue. But for now, there is only this: a calm, still moment in the center of the day, a pause that belongs to no one, yet is shared by all. The worker shifts slightly, not from discomfort, just a small movement, a reminder that the body is present, that the rest is real. Nearby, someone rises, slowly. Another follows. The quiet signal begins again. The pause is coming to an end, not abruptly, not with force, but gently, like everything else. The worker takes one more breath, deep, even. Then he leans forward, places his hands on the ground, and prepares to stand.
The stillness of midday begins to fade, not all at once, but gently, like a soft breath leaving the air. One by one, the workers rise from their places in the shade. There is no signal, no spoken instruction. The change happens quietly, carried through small movements. Someone standing, someone lifting a tool, someone taking a final sip of water. The worker places his hand on the ground and pushes himself up, slowly. His body feels different now, rested but heavier in a calm way. The muscles are no longer tight with effort, yet they remember the work. They hold a quiet weight, a steady presence that moves with him as he stands. He reaches for his tool. It rests where he left it, unchanged. He picks it up without hurry. The familiar grip returns to his hand, fitting easily as it has many times before. Around him, others begin to move back toward the field. Their steps are unhurried, measured. The air has changed slightly. The sun is still strong, but it has begun its slow descent. The light is no longer directly above. It leans just enough to begin forming soft shadows again, though they are still short and close. The worker walks back to his place. The ground is warm beneath his feet, holding the memory of the sun's steady presence. Each step presses lightly into the soil, leaving faint marks that will soon be covered or smoothed by the work. He arrives where he left off. The field looks the same, yet not the same. The work done in the morning rests beside the untouched earth ahead. There is a quiet sense of continuation, as if the day itself has been paused and now gently resumed. He takes a breath, then begins again. Lift, press, turn, step. The rhythm returns, but it feels slower now, not weaker, just more measured. The body moves with care, conserving its energy, allowing each motion to flow into the next without strain. The soil breaks as before, soft in some places, firm in others. The tool meets it with the same quiet sound, repeating again and again, steady and low. Around him, the field comes back to life, not loudly, not suddenly, but gradually, as each worker resumes their place. The overlapping rhythm of tools and footsteps returns, softer than before, as if shaped by the warmth of the afternoon. The breeze moves lightly across the land. It carries a faint sense of change, a slight cooling, though the heat is still present. It brushes against the worker's skin, lifting a thin layer of dust, then letting it settle again. He continues forward, step by step. The work feels familiar, comforting in its repetition. There is no need to think ahead, no need to measure how much remains. Only the small piece of earth before him, only the next movement, and then the next. The sun lowers a little more. Its light begins to soften, just slightly. The brightness remains, but it is no longer as sharp as it was at midday. The edges of shadows begin to stretch again, forming faint lines along the ground. The worker notices this, not with his eyes alone, but through the feeling of the day shifting. Time is moving, slowly, quietly, as it always does. A bird passes overhead. This time its shadow lingers just a little longer on the ground, stretched by the changing light. It moves across the field, then disappears. The worker does not pause. His arms continue their steady motion. Lift, press, turn, step. There is a slight heaviness now, a gentle fatigue, but it is not unpleasant. It is expected. It is part of the rhythm. The body works, then rests, moves, then pauses, again and again. Nearby, another worker adjusts their position. A brief pause, a shift of weight, then the rhythm returns. No one speaks much. The quiet of the afternoon settles over the field. Voices are softer now, less frequent. The work itself fills the space. The worker finishes another section. The ground before him changes, becoming like the rest, prepared, shaped, ready. He steps forward again, begins anew. The repetition continues, and within it there is a calm, a steady, unbroken flow of movement, the kind that does not demand attention, but gently holds it. The sun lowers further. The light grows warmer. A faint golden tone begins to touch the land, softening the colors, blending the edges of things. The air feels slightly different now, still warm, but easing. The day is beginning its slow turn toward evening. The worker continues, not rushing to finish, not slowing too much, simply moving with the same quiet consistency. The field stretches ahead, but it no longer feels endless. The passing of the day has shaped it, has given it form, has given the work a beginning, a middle, and now a gentle movement toward its end. The worker breathes steadily, in, out, in, out. Each breath calm, each movement simple. The Nile flows in the distance, unseen yet always present. Its quiet motion mirrors the day itself, constant, unhurried, endless. And under the softening light of the afternoon, the worker continues, moving slowly through the final hours of labor as the world around him begins to settle into a quieter, gentler pace. The afternoon slowly begins to soften. The sun lowers further across the sky, no longer high and distant, but gently leaning toward the horizon. Its light changes in a quiet way, becoming warmer, more golden, as if it is slowly resting after a long day. Across the field, the colors shift. The earth takes on a deeper tone. The sky grows softer. The edges of shadows stretch longer once again, reaching out across the ground in calm, thin lines. The worker continues his steady motion. Lift, press, turn, step. The rhythm is still there, but it carries a different feeling now. There is a quiet awareness that the day is moving toward its end, not in a hurry, not suddenly, but with a slow and gentle certainty. His body feels the work more clearly now. There is a softness in his movements, a careful use of energy. Each motion is placed with quiet intention, without waste, without strain. The soil responds as it has all day, breaking, turning, settling. The field now holds the marks of many hours of effort. What was once untouched has been shaped, piece by piece, by steady hands and patient time. Nearby, other workers continue as well. Their movements are slower now, not from weakness, but from the natural weight of a long day. The rhythm across the field becomes softer, more spaced, like a quiet echo of the stronger pattern from earlier. The breeze returns. This time it carries a hint of coolness. It moves gently across the land, brushing against skin, lifting small traces of dust, then fading away again. The worker notices it, not with surprise, but with a quiet sense of change. The air is shifting. The heat of the day is beginning to release its hold. He continues forward, step by step. The tool feels familiar, even after many hours. His hands hold it with ease, guided more by memory than thought. A bird calls in the distance. Another answers. The sounds are soft, carried through the open space, blending into the stillness of the late afternoon. The worker finishes another section of the field. He pauses briefly, standing still, looking down at the ground he has just worked. The lines are clear. The soil is ready. There is nothing more to do in this small space. He takes a breath, slow, even, then steps forward once more. There is still a little work left, not much, just enough to complete the rhythm of the day. The sun lowers again. Its light now touches the land at an angle, casting long, gentle shadows that stretch across the field. The brightness softens further, becoming calm and easy on the eyes. The worker's movements continue. Lift, press, turn, step. Each one steady, each one quiet. The sounds of the field grow lighter. Fewer tools strike the ground. More pauses begin to appear between movements. Some workers have already stopped. They stand for a moment, looking across the land, then begin to gather their tools. Others complete their final sections before doing the same. There is no rush to leave, no signal to end, only a shared understanding. The day's work is nearly complete. The worker presses his tool into the soil one last time, turns it, lifts it away. He looks at the ground before him. It is done. This part of the field is ready. He straightens slowly. His back rises. His arms relax at his sides. For a moment, he stands still. The quiet of the late afternoon surrounds him. The field rests. The air moves gently. The sun continues its slow descent. He takes a breath, deep, calm. Then he reaches down and lifts his tool. He holds it loosely now, no longer in use, but still a part of him for this day. Around him, others begin to move away from the field. Some walk alone. Some walk in pairs, speaking softly. Their voices are low, blending into the evening air without breaking its calm. The worker turns toward the village. The path is the same as before, but it feels different now. The light has changed it. The day has changed him, just slightly, in the quiet way that each day does. He begins to walk. His steps are steady, but slower than in the morning. Not from fatigue alone, but from a sense of completion. There is no need to hurry now. The work has been done. The evening waits patiently. As he walks, the sky continues to soften. The golden light spreads gently across the land, touching the tops of the houses in the distance, the edges of the trees, the surface of the Nile. Everything seems to glow, quietly. The breeze moves again, cooler now, more noticeable. It moves across his skin, carrying with it the scent of water, of earth, of the coming night. The sounds of the field fade behind him. In their place, the faint sounds of the village begin to return. Soft voices, distant movement, the quiet life of evening. The worker continues along the path, each step bringing him closer to home, closer to rest, closer to the calm that follows a day of steady effort. The Nile flows beside the land, unchanged. The sun lowers toward the horizon, and the world, slowly and gently,
begins to settle.
The path back to the village feels longer in a different way. Not because the distance has changed, but because the day has begun to slow. Each step the worker takes carries the quiet weight of completed work. His body moves at an unhurried pace, guided less by urgency and more by the natural easing of the evening. The sun continues its descent. Its light stretches across the land in soft golden tones. Shadows grow longer again, no longer short and close as they were at midday, but extended and gentle, reaching out across the ground with a calm presence. The worker walks steadily. His tool rests in his hand, no longer used, but still held with familiarity. Around him, other workers move along the same paths, returning from their own fields. Some walk in silence. Others exchange a few quiet words, their voices low and even, blending into the soft atmosphere of the evening. The village begins to appear ahead. Simple structures of mud brick, close together, forming small, familiar spaces. Smoke from small fires rises lightly into the air, drifting upward and then fading into the sky. The sounds of the day in the village are different now, less active, more settled. A steady rhythm of home life begins to take shape. The worker approaches his home. The doorway is as he left it in the morning, a simple opening, covered by a hanging cloth that shifts slightly with the breeze. He pauses briefly outside, just for a moment, a quiet transition between the outer world and the space within. Then he steps inside. The air feels cooler, softer. The light inside is dim, but not dark. The fading sunlight from outside still reaches into the room, spreading across the floor in a gentle glow. Inside, family members are present. Some are preparing food. Others are resting after their own day. There is no loud greeting, no sudden movement, only a calm acknowledgement of return, a glance, a slight nod, perhaps a few quiet words. The worker sets down his tool. Carefully, it leans against the wall in its usual place, joining the others that have returned from the day's work. He takes a moment to stand still. The body, having moved throughout the day, now begins to release its effort. Shoulders relax, arms rest naturally. Breathing remains slow and even. A small container of water is offered. He takes it, drinks. The water is cool enough to refresh, easing the dryness left by the afternoon heat. He drinks slowly, not in haste, just enough to settle the body. Nearby, food is being prepared. The smell is simple, warm, and familiar. Grain, bread, perhaps a small portion of vegetables or legumes. The fire used earlier in the day is now stronger again, its heat used for cooking as the evening progresses. The worker sits down. This is the second time he sits in the same day, but the feeling is different from the midday rest. Now the body is not preparing to return to work. It is beginning to release the day entirely. Food is placed before him. He eats quietly. Each bite is steady, unhurried. The room is calm, filled with the soft sounds of movement, utensils, cloth, the low crackle of fire. No one speaks loudly. Conversations, if they happen, remain gentle and brief. The evening carries a natural quietness that encourages stillness rather than activity. Outside, the sky continues to change. The golden light fades into deeper tones. Shadows grow longer and begin to merge. The colors of the day soften into the early signs of night. Inside, the light from the fire becomes more noticeable. It casts a warm glow on the walls, creating moving shapes that shift slowly with the flame. The worker finishes his meal. He does not rush to stand. Instead, he remains seated for a moment, letting the food settle, letting the body ease fully into the evening. Around him, others do the same. Some clean their hands. Some arrange small objects. Some simply sit in quiet rest. There is no urgency left in the day, only calm continuation. The worker leans slightly back. His eyes rest softly. His thoughts are simple. There is no need to plan for tomorrow in this moment, no need to revisit the details of the day, only the presence of now. The house feels steady, familiar, safe in its simplicity. Outside, the last light of the sun touches the horizon. It begins to disappear slowly, without suddenness, as if it is gently lowering itself behind the edge of the world. The sky transitions into deeper shades. The brightness of day fades into the quiet of evening. Inside, the light from the fire becomes more noticeable. It casts a warm glow on the walls, creating moving shapes that shift slowly with the flame. The worker finishes his meal. He does not rush to stand. Instead, he remains seated for a moment, letting the food settle, letting the body ease fully into the evening. Around him, others do the same. Some clean their hands. Some arrange small objects. Some simply sit in quiet rest. There is no urgency left in the day, only calm continuation. The worker leans slightly back. His eyes rest softly. His thoughts are simple. There is no need to plan for tomorrow in this moment, no need to revisit the details of the day, only the presence of now. The house feels steady, familiar, safe in its simplicity. Outside, the last light of the sun touches the horizon. It begins to disappear slowly, without suddenness, as if it is gently lowering itself behind the edge of the world. The sky transitions into deeper shades. The brightness of day fades into the quiet of evening. Inside, the light from the fire becomes more noticeable. It casts a warm glow on the walls, creating moving shapes that shift slowly with the flame. The worker finishes his meal. He does not rush to stand. Instead, he remains seated for a moment, letting the food settle, letting the body ease fully into the evening. Around him, others do the same. Some clean their hands. Some arrange small objects. Some simply sit in quiet rest. There is no urgency left in the day, only calm continuation. The worker leans slightly back. His eyes rest softly. His thoughts are simple. There is no need to plan for tomorrow in this moment, no need to revisit the details of the day, only the presence of now. The house feels steady, familiar, safe in its simplicity. Outside, the last light of the sun touches the horizon. It begins to disappear slowly, without suddenness, as if it is gently lowering itself behind the edge of the world. The sky transitions into deeper shades. The brightness of day fades into the quiet of evening. Inside, the light from the fire becomes more noticeable. It casts a warm glow on the walls, creating moving shapes that shift slowly with the flame. The worker finishes his meal. He does not rush to stand. Instead, he remains seated for a moment, letting the food settle, letting the body ease fully into the evening. Around him, others do the same. Some clean their hands. Some arrange small objects. Some simply sit in quiet rest. There is no urgency left in the day, only calm continuation. The worker leans slightly back. His eyes rest softly. His thoughts are simple. There is no need to plan for tomorrow in this moment, no need to revisit the details of the day, only the presence of now. The house feels steady, familiar, safe in its simplicity. Outside, the last light of the sun touches the horizon. It begins to disappear slowly, without suddenness, as if it is gently lowering itself behind the edge of the world. The sky transitions into deeper shades. The brightness of day fades into the quiet of evening. Inside, the light from the fire becomes more noticeable. It casts a warm glow on the walls, creating moving shapes that shift slowly with the flame. The worker finishes his meal. He does not rush to stand. Instead, he remains seated for a moment, letting the food settle, letting the body ease fully into the evening. Around him, others do the same. Some clean their hands. Some arrange small objects. Some simply sit in quiet rest. There is no urgency left in the day, only calm continuation. The worker leans slightly back. His eyes rest softly. His thoughts are simple. There is no need to plan.
The night settles over the land slowly. It does not arrive all at once. It comes in layers as the last traces of daylight fade from the sky and the colors deepen into darker shades. The horizon, once bright and warm, now holds only a faint memory of light, gradually giving way to the calm of darkness. Inside the small house, the fire has softened. Its glow is low and steady, no longer bright enough to fill the room, but enough to gently outline the shapes of walls, objects, and resting bodies. The light moves in small, quiet patterns as the flame shifts, never strong, never harsh. The worker lies still on his mat. His body is at rest, fully. There is no movement now, except for the slow rise and fall of his breathing. In, out, in, out. The rhythm is steady, unbroken. The day's work has left a natural heaviness in the body, the kind that comes not from strain alone, but from a full day lived with steady effort. That heaviness now turns into rest, settling the body deeper into stillness. Around him, others in the house have also settled. Some lie in quiet sleep, others remain in a soft, half-aware state before drifting fully into rest. No one speaks, no one moves with purpose. The activities of the day have ended completely. Outside, the village is silent, not empty, but quiet. Houses stand close together, their forms barely visible in the darkness. Paths that were busy during the day are now still. The faint outlines of trees and structures rest under the night sky, unchanged and calm. Above, the sky is clear. Stars appear one by one, distant and steady. They do not move quickly. They simply exist, scattered across the darkness like small points of light that have always been there. The moon, if present, casts a soft glow across the land. Its light is gentle, not bright, but enough to reveal the shapes of the ground, the edges of the river, and the contours of the village. The Nile continues its quiet flow. Its movement is subtle in the night. Without the brightness of day, the river becomes more like a presence than a visible form. It moves steadily, carrying water along its long path, unchanged by the stillness around it. The sound of the water is faint, a soft, continuous motion that blends into the silence rather than breaking it. Along the riverbank, reeds stand still. They do not move much in the night air. The breeze is light, passing through them gently, causing only the smallest shifts. Inside the house, the worker's breathing deepens slightly. His body has fully relaxed. Muscles rest without tension. Thoughts fade into quiet fragments, no longer forming into clear patterns. Sleep begins to take hold, not suddenly, but gradually, a slow descent into rest. The fire in the room dims further. Its light flickers, then steadies again, then flickers once more.
It does not need to burn strongly through the night, only enough to provide warmth and a small sense of presence. The darkness in the room becomes more complete, soft but full. The shapes of objects are now mostly outlines. The world inside the house becomes still, held in a quiet balance between light and shadow. Outside, the air is cool, not cold, just cool enough to bring comfort after the warmth of the day. It moves gently across the land, touching the surfaces of walls, paths, and plants, then drifting onward without interruption. The village remains asleep. There are no footsteps, no voices, only the subtle sounds of nature. Insects, distant and faint. The occasional soft movement of air through leaves or reeds. These sounds do not disturb the silence. They belong to it. The worker sleeps now, fully. His body has released the effort of the day. His mind rests without direction. There is no awareness of time in this moment, no sense of beginning or end, only rest. The same rest that has followed countless days before and will follow the days yet to come. The Nile continues its steady path. The land remains still under the night sky, and the village, quiet and calm, rests together as one, held gently within the slow rhythm of night. Nothing calls for attention. Nothing demands movement. Everything is at ease. The darkness settles fully, complete but not heavy, soft and even, a quiet cover over the land. And within it, the worker, like many others, rests without thought, without effort, carried into the deeper calm that only night can bring.
The night has reached its deepest point. The sky above the Nile is dark and wide, filled with stars that remain steady and distant. Their light does not change quickly. It glows quietly, without urgency, as if time itself has slowed down to match the stillness of the land below. In the village, everything rests. Houses sit in silence, their shapes barely visible in the darkness. Paths that were once full of movement are now calm and undisturbed. The air is cool, holding a gentle stillness that surrounds every structure, every space, every quiet corner. Inside the small house, the worker sleeps. His breathing is slow, even. There is no tension in his body now. His arms rest naturally at his sides. His legs are relaxed, his posture unchanged since he settled into sleep earlier in the night. Time passes, not measured, not noticed, just continuing, quietly. The fire that once burned in the room has nearly faded. Only a faint glow remains, low and soft, barely lighting the immediate space. It flickers gently, then steadies, then flickers again, like a quiet presence that does not demand attention. Outside, the Nile flows as it always does. Its movement is constant, steady, uninterrupted. Even in darkness, it continues its path, carrying water along the land, shaping the environment in ways that are felt more than seen. The reeds along the river stand still. The breeze passes lightly through them at times, causing a soft, almost silent rustling. These moments are brief. Then the stillness returns. Within the house, nothing moves. The worker remains in deep rest. His body has entered a state of full recovery. The effort of the day has been set aside completely. For a long stretch of time, there is no change, only quiet, only stillness. Then, very slowly, something begins to shift.
It is not visible, not immediately noticeable. It is a subtle change in the air, in the quality of darkness, in the distant edge of the horizon. The night is beginning to soften at its edges. The deepest darkness holds for a moment longer, but beyond it, a faint sense of transition starts to form. Still, the village remains asleep. No one wakes yet. The worker's breathing continues at the same steady pace. But within his sleep, there is a slight change, a gentle movement of the body, a small shift of position. Not waking, just adjusting, the natural movement of rest. Outside, the sky begins its slow preparation for dawn. The stars remain visible, but the space between them carries a faint sense of change, as if the darkness is no longer completely uniform. The horizon, though still dark, begins to loosen slightly. It will be a long time before light appears clearly, but the process has already begun. The Nile reflects none of this yet in a visible way. It continues its steady flow through the night, unchanged, calm, and continuous. In the village, a few subtle signs of life begin to stir at a distance, not in full waking, but in small, quiet ways. A slight movement within another home, a soft shift of a body. These are not signs of the day beginning, only signs that rest is not fixed in one position forever. It flows as well. The worker remains asleep. His mind is quiet. His body is still. The room around him is nearly dark, with only the faintest suggestion of form where objects rest in place. The fire has nearly gone out, leaving behind only a trace of warmth. The coolness of the night lingers in the air, balanced and calm. No urgency exists here, no need to move, no demand to wake. Everything continues in its own slow rhythm. Time, though passing, feels unmarked. The world rests between one moment and the next, holding itself in a quiet balance before the return of light. And within this balance, the worker sleeps, as he has done before, as he will do again, carried gently through the final hours of night, without awareness, without interruption, until the subtle arrival of the next day begins its quiet approach. The cycle remains unbroken. Night will give way to morning. Rest will give way to movement. And life, steady and calm, will begin again. For now, there is only this, a deep, uninterrupted stillness, a quiet held across the land, a moment that belongs entirely to rest.
The night begins to loosen its hold. Not quickly, not in a way that can be clearly seen at first, but gently, in a way that is felt more than noticed. The darkness over the land is still present, still deep, but it is no longer entirely uniform. At the edge of the horizon, there is the faintest suggestion of change, a slight softening of the blackness, almost like a quiet breath being taken by the world itself. In the village, everything remains still. Houses stand in silence, paths remain undisturbed. The air is cool, holding the calm of the final hours before morning. Inside the small house, the worker continues to sleep. His body is at rest, settled deeply into the quiet rhythm of the night. His breathing remains slow, steady, uninterrupted. There is no movement of thought that reaches the surface of awareness, only the natural cycles of rest, continuing without effort. The faint glow from the fire has nearly disappeared. Only a trace of warmth lingers in the space where it once burned more brightly. The room is now mostly dark, with shapes that are barely distinguishable from one another. Outside, the sky begins to change in a subtle way.
The stars are still visible, but their clarity is slightly softened by the emerging light that has not yet fully arrived. The darkness is not gone. It is simply beginning to shift. At the horizon, a thin band of lighter tone starts to form. It is very faint, almost unnoticeable at first, a gradual transition rather than a clear line. The Nile reflects this change in the most subtle way. Its surface, though still dark, carries a faint difference in tone, as if it senses the coming light long before it becomes visible. The reeds along its banks remain still. The breeze is quiet. The entire landscape seems to hold its breath. Inside the house, the worker stirs slightly, not waking, just a small natural adjustment of the body within sleep, a shift of position, a deeper breath. These movements are gentle and unforced, part of the natural rhythm of rest as it begins to move toward its end. The village remains quiet. No doors open yet, no footsteps sound along the paths, but the sense of the night beginning to end is present in the background of everything. Time continues its slow progression. The horizon becomes a little lighter, not bright, not clearly defined, but enough to mark the direction of change. The darkness is no longer absolute. It now holds within it a quiet gradient leading toward the return of daylight. Inside the house, the worker's breathing changes slightly. Still slow, still calm, but with a faint shift that suggests the body is gradually preparing to wake. Not consciously, not with intention, only through the natural alignment of rest and time. The air in the room remains cool, stable, comforting in its stillness. The last remnants of warmth from the fire have now fully faded, leaving the space in a balanced temperature between night and the approaching morning. Outside, the sky continues its slow transformation. The lighter band at the horizon becomes slightly more noticeable. It does not yet carry the color of sunrise, but it is no longer pure darkness. It is the first quiet step toward light. The stars remain, though their presence feels more distant now, less dominant against the subtle change in the sky. The Nile continues its steady flow, unchanged in motion, unchanged in rhythm. It moves through the land as it always has, carrying with it the continuity of the environment, unaffected by the gradual transition above. Inside the village, a few small signs of movement begin to appear, still subtle, still quiet, a shift in one house, a slight movement in another. These are not full awakenings, only the beginning of awareness returning to the edges of sleep. The worker remains mostly still. His body rests, but it is no longer in the deepest phase of the night. It is moving gently toward wakefulness. The transition is slow, almost imperceptible. There is no urgency in it, no interruption, just a quiet unfolding. The horizon lightens a little more. The darkness softens further. The sky holds both night and the first suggestion of morning at the same time. In this in-between space, everything feels calm and balanced. The village remains quiet. The river flows. The land waits. And the worker, still lying in his resting place, begins the slow return from sleep as the world around him prepares, once again, for the beginning of a new day. The first light of morning grows slowly. It does not arrive in a sudden burst, but spreads gently across the horizon, widening the pale band that began in the darkness. The sky shifts from deep black into softer shades of blue and gray, blending together in a calm and gradual transition. In the village, the stillness begins to change, not quickly, not loudly, but in small, natural ways that mark the return of a new day. Inside the house, the worker stirs again. This time, the movement is a little more defined.
His breathing deepens slightly. His body shifts position, adjusting to the growing awareness that comes with the end of sleep. His eyes begin to open, though slowly, as if easing into the presence of light rather than reacting to it. The room around him is no longer fully dark. The faint light from outside enters through the doorway and any small openings, spreading across the walls and floor in a soft, pale glow. The shapes of objects become clearer. The edges of the space are gently defined. There is no rush in the waking, only a gradual return. The worker remains lying for a moment, not fully rising yet, just resting in that quiet space between sleep and full awareness. His thoughts begin to form again, but softly, without urgency, without focus on anything specific. The body follows before the mind fully engages. Around him, others in the house begin to wake as well. Small movements, subtle shifts, a quiet sense that the night has ended and the day is ready to begin again. Outside, the sky continues to brighten. The faint light at the horizon grows stronger, slowly revealing more of the land. The Nile begins to reflect this change more clearly. Its surface now shows a gentle shimmer as the early light touches it, creating a soft contrast between water and sky. The air inside the house feels slightly cooler than it will be later in the day. It carries the freshness of early morning, a balance between the lingering coolness of night and the beginning warmth of sunlight. The worker finally sits up, slowly. There is no sudden movement. His body rises in a controlled, familiar motion, guided by habit rather than thought. He pauses once he is upright, allowing his senses to adjust to the waking world. The light is soft. The air is calm. The sounds of the village begin to return in the distance, not loud, just present. A quiet sign that life is resuming. He places his feet on the ground. The surface feels cool beneath them, familiar, grounding. He remains seated for a brief moment, letting the transition complete. The mind is now more awake, but still calm, still unhurried. He looks toward the doorway. The light outside is brighter now. The sky is shifting toward a clearer morning tone. He stands, gently. His movements are steady and practiced. The body remembers the sequence of the morning, just as it has many times before. He reaches for the simple cloth he wears, adjusts it, ensuring it sits comfortably. Nearby, small objects in the room are already being handled by others in quiet preparation. The sounds are minimal, soft movement, light touches of materials, the subtle beginnings of daily routine. The worker steps toward the doorway. He lifts the hanging cloth and looks outside. The village is waking, slowly. People begin to move along the paths again. Doors open. Figures appear in the soft morning light. The air outside feels fresh, cooler than later in the day, but already touched by the presence of the sun that is about to rise fully. He steps outside. The ground beneath his feet is firm. The light in the sky is now clearer, though the sun itself may still be just below or near the horizon. The transition from night to day is nearly complete. The colors of the landscape begin to show more clearly. The shapes of houses, trees, and paths are easier to see. The worker takes a breath. The morning air fills his lungs gently. There is a quiet sense of renewal in this moment. Not dramatic, not exciting, just steady, natural, the beginning of another day. Around him, the village follows the same rhythm, people moving, preparing, returning to their familiar routines. The Nile continues its flow beside the land, unchanged, constant, a presence that remains through both night and day.
The worker begins to walk, slowly, stepping forward into the early morning once more. The cycle has returned. The day has begun again. And with it, the same quiet pattern of life continues, steady and unbroken, just as it has before.
The morning light grows a little stronger. It spreads gently across the village, soft and even, touching the surfaces of walls, paths, and rooftops with a pale warmth that is still calm and not yet intense. The shadows are short and light, and the air carries the quiet clarity of a day just beginning. The worker walks with a steady pace, not hurried, not slow beyond need, just natural, familiar movement along a path he has traveled many times before. Around him, others move in similar ways. Some carry small containers, others walk toward the river. A few stand briefly outside their homes, adjusting to the morning air before continuing their tasks. The sounds of the village remain soft, footsteps on packed earth, occasional quiet conversation, the gentle movement of daily life returning. The worker approaches the Nile. The river is already active in its own way, not with urgency, but with continuous motion. Its surface reflects the morning light, creating a subtle pattern that shifts as the water flows. The banks are calm, lined with reeds and plants that stand upright in the still air. He stops near the water's edge. There is a familiar routine here, a quiet moment that marks the beginning of the day's physical readiness. He bends down, carefully. The motion is controlled and unhurried. He brings his hands toward the water. The surface responds with a slight ripple where his fingers touch. The coolness of the water is immediate, refreshing, steady. He gathers water in his hands and brings it to his face. The touch is gentle, repeated a few times. Each movement is simple and consistent. The water flows between his fingers and back into the river, blending again with the current. The act of washing is not rushed. It follows a calm rhythm. Touch, lift, release, repeat. The worker straightens slightly after finishing. His face now feels awake, refreshed by the cool water and the contact with the river that sustains the land. Nearby, others perform the same action, a shared routine that connects individuals through a common beginning to the day. The air near the river is slightly cooler than inland. It carries a faint dampness, balanced with the growing warmth of early sunlight. The sounds here are minimal: water moving, occasional footsteps, the soft rustle of plants along the bank. After washing, the worker turns away from the river. He walks back toward the village interior. His steps are steady, leaving faint impressions in the ground that will fade with time. As he returns, the village feels more active than before, not crowded, not loud, but steadily engaged in the early stages of daily preparation. Homes show signs of movement. Doors remain open. People gather small items. Simple tools, containers, and materials are handled with care. The worker approaches his home again. He steps inside briefly. The interior is now brighter than it was earlier. Morning light filters in more fully, reducing the contrast between inside and outside. He checks his belongings, small adjustments, ensuring everything is in place for the day ahead. There is no complexity in this process, only familiarity, repetition, a pattern that supports the flow of daily life. He takes a moment to rest his hands at his sides, standing quietly. His mind is now fully awake, clear, calm, ready for the next phase of the day. Outside, the sky continues to brighten.
The sun is now either visible or just above the horizon, casting a steady light across the land. The Nile reflects this light more clearly, its surface shimmering gently with movement that never stops. The village prepares for work. The worker steps outside again. He joins the flow of people moving toward their respective tasks. Paths begin to see more consistent activity. Groups form briefly, then separate, each person following their own routine, yet part of the same overall rhythm. The air warms slightly as the sun rises higher. The coolness of early morning begins to soften. Shadows shift in position, slowly shortening as the light grows stronger. The worker continues walking. His pace remains even, his posture upright and relaxed. There is no urgency in his steps, only purpose. The beginning of work lies ahead, and with it, the continuation of a pattern that has already begun earlier in the day. Around him, the village is now fully awake, not in a sudden way, but in a gradual, natural unfolding that has reached a steady state. The sounds of activity are present, but gentler. Movement is coordinated through habit rather than instruction. The day has taken its place. The morning routines are complete, and the next stage of labor is ready to begin. The worker moves forward along the path, leaving the river behind for now, returning to the spaces where work will take place. The cycle continues, quiet, consistent, unbroken.
The morning light settles fully over the land. It is no longer soft in the way it was just moments before. It has grown clearer, more defined, gently illuminating the paths, the homes, and the open spaces where work will soon take place. The sun now rests higher in the sky, its presence steady and consistent, bringing warmth that slowly begins to spread across the ground. The worker continues along the familiar path. His pace remains even, his movements are unhurried. Around him, other workers travel in the same general direction, each following their own role within the larger pattern of the day. There is no sense of urgency in their steps, only direction, purpose, a quiet understanding of where they need to be. As they walk, the landscape opens into wider spaces. Areas where work is performed begin to appear. The ground here is prepared, shaped by repeated use over time. It holds the memory of past activity, yet remains ready for the present day. Tools are gathered in small groups, simple functional objects made for specific tasks. They are handled carefully, checked, and carried by those who will use them. The worker reaches his assigned place. He pauses briefly, looking over the area. The environment is calm but active with preparation. Others arrive and take their positions. Some exchange a few quiet words, short phrases, practical and direct. There is no excess in communication, only what is needed to coordinate movement and effort. The worker receives his task for the day. It is familiar, part of a cycle that repeats with consistency. He listens, nods slightly, and turns toward the area where his work will begin. The tools are placed within reach. He picks up the one required first. The weight of it is simple and known. His hands adjust naturally to its shape. There is no hesitation in his grip. The work begins slowly. The first movements are measured, positioning, alignment, a few initial actions that set the pattern for what follows. The environment around him reflects similar beginnings. Other workers start their own tasks, each focused on their assigned activity. Movements across the space are coordinated, but not rigid. There is room for natural pacing within the shared structure. The sounds of work begin to emerge, not loud, not overwhelming, just present. The contact of tools with materials, the shifting of earth, the subtle rhythm of repeated actions.
These sounds blend together into a steady background, forming a calm atmosphere that supports focus rather than disrupts it. The sun continues to rise higher. Its light becomes stronger, reaching deeper into the space where the workers are gathered. Shadows adjust in length and direction. The air warms gradually, though it remains comfortable in the early hours of labor. The worker continues his task. His movements follow a repeated pattern: lift, place, adjust, return. Each step is part of a sequence that he performs without needing to think deeply about it. His body understands the rhythm. His mind remains calm, attentive but not strained. Around him, others continue in similar ways. The collective effort of many individuals creates a steady flow of activity. No single movement dominates the space. Instead, everything contributes to a shared progression. Time passes, not marked by clocks or signals, but by the gradual advancement of work. The position of the sun changes slightly. The angle of light shifts. The environment remains consistent, yet subtly different as the morning moves forward. The worker pauses briefly, a natural break in the sequence of actions. He stands upright for a moment, allowing his body to rest before continuing. His breathing remains steady. There is no fatigue that interrupts his ability to proceed, only a brief reset before returning to the task. He resumes his work. The pattern continues, measured, controlled, familiar. The tools respond as expected. The materials change shape gradually through repeated effort. Nothing happens quickly. Everything develops over time. The surrounding workers maintain their own steady pace, some slightly faster, some slightly slower, but all within a balanced range that keeps the overall activity moving smoothly. There is no need for strict synchronization. The shared understanding of the task is enough to maintain order. The environment remains open and calm. The sky above is clear. The light is stable. The sounds of labor continue as a soft, continuous presence. The worker remains engaged in his task, fully present, but not overwhelmed. His focus is simple and direct: action, adjustment, continuation. This marks the beginning of the day's primary work period, a time of steady effort that will extend across the hours ahead. For now, everything is aligned. The day is in motion, and the work proceeds in its quiet, consistent rhythm.
The sun climbs higher into the sky. Its light grows stronger, spreading more fully across the open space where the workers continue their tasks. The shadows become shorter now, gathering closer beneath objects and people, no longer stretching far across the ground. The air begins to warm in a steady, gentle way. Not sudden, not harsh, just a gradual increase that follows the movement of the day. The worker remains at his place. His task continues with the same familiar rhythm that began earlier in the morning. His hands move with practiced ease. Each motion follows the one before it, forming a sequence that feels natural and unbroken. Lift, position, apply effort, release, reset, repeat. There is no need to rush. The pace is steady and controlled, allowing the work to progress evenly over time. Around him, other workers maintain their own activities. The space is filled with coordinated effort, yet the atmosphere remains calm. No raised voices, no hurried movement, only the quiet presence of many individuals working together within the same environment. The sounds of labor continue to blend into a consistent background. The contact of tools with surfaces, the movement of materials being shaped or shifted, occasional footsteps across the ground. These sounds do not stand out individually. They merge into a soft, continuous rhythm that matches the pace of the work itself. The worker pauses briefly, a small break in motion. He adjusts his stance, shifts his weight from one foot to the other, then returns to the task. This pattern of short pauses within longer periods of effort helps maintain balance in the body. It allows the work to continue without strain becoming overwhelming. The sun now sits higher overhead. Its light is more direct. The environment is clearly visible in all directions. Colors appear more defined. Surfaces reflect light with greater clarity. The warmth in the air increases slightly, though it remains comfortable within the flow of activity. The worker's focus remains steady. His attention is directed toward the immediate task in front of him. He does not look far ahead, nor does he dwell on what has already been done. Each moment is handled as it comes, one step at a time, one movement following another. Time passes in this way, not marked by specific moments, but by the gradual completion of repeated actions. Other workers nearby continue their own sequences. Some reposition materials, others refine or adjust what has already been worked on. The coordination between individuals remains smooth. There is an unspoken understanding that guides how the work flows across the space. No one needs to direct every action. The familiarity of the routine supports the overall structure. The worker wipes his hands briefly, a simple motion to clear away residue from the task. He then resumes his work without interruption. The cycle continues. Effort followed by adjustment, movement followed by stillness, then movement again. The environment remains stable. The sky is clear. The sun continues its steady path. The light remains consistent, casting even illumination across the work area. The Nile, not far from the activity, continues its constant flow. Though not always directly visible from this space, its presence is felt as part of the larger landscape. It remains unchanged in its motion, providing a quiet continuity that runs alongside the daily activities of the people. The worker takes another brief pause. He stands upright for a moment, looking over the area around him without focusing on anything in particular. This pause is not a break from purpose, but a natural part of maintaining endurance. After a short moment, he returns to his task. His movements remain measured. There is no visible fatigue that interrupts his ability to continue. Only the steady application of effort over time. Around him, the mid-morning period settles into a consistent rhythm. The initial transition from rest to activity is now fully complete. The work is fully underway. The environment reflects this stage of the day clearly. Stable light, continuous movement, balanced coordination among workers. The atmosphere remains calm despite the ongoing activity. There is no disruption in the flow, no sudden changes, only the quiet progression of tasks as they move toward completion over time. The worker continues. His hands follow the same sequence of actions. His posture remains steady. His breathing is even. Everything about his presence in the work reflects a balance between effort and calm. Time continues to pass, gradually, without urgency. The mid-morning hours stretch onward in this steady rhythm, carrying the day forward while maintaining the same quiet, consistent tone that has been present since the beginning of the work.
The sun now reaches its highest point in the sky. Its light is direct and steady, covering the land evenly without long shadows. The brightness is consistent, filling the open space where the workers stand and move, making every surface clearly visible. The air begins to feel warmer, not uncomfortable in an abrupt way, but noticeably more intense than the earlier hours of the morning. The warmth settles gently over the ground, rising slowly from the earth and surrounding the workers as they continue their tasks. The rhythm of labor begins to shift slightly, not stopping, not ending, but adjusting. Movements become a little more measured, a little more deliberate. The worker continues his task, though his pace reflects the change in conditions. His hands still follow the familiar sequence of actions, but there is a subtle awareness of the heat that now accompanies each movement. Lift, adjust, place, pause, then continue. The pauses between actions become slightly more frequent, short moments of stillness that allow the body to remain balanced in the growing warmth. Around him, others respond in similar ways. The overall activity remains present, but the intensity softens. The coordinated effort continues, yet with a quieter, more measured energy than before. The sounds of labor remain steady. Tools still meet materials. Footsteps continue to mark movement across the ground. But the pace of these sounds feels slightly slower, matching the adjustment in physical effort. The sun remains high. Its position does not change quickly, but the passage of time is felt through the increasing warmth that surrounds the space. The ground absorbs the light, holding and reflecting heat back into the air. The worker pauses for a longer moment than before. He stands upright, allowing his body to rest briefly. His breathing is steady, his posture relaxed. He does not leave his place, but remains within the work area, taking a quiet pause before continuing. Nearby, others do the same. Some step slightly aside from their tasks. Others remain in place, simply resting their hands or lowering their tools for a short period. These pauses are natural, part of the rhythm of the day as it reaches its warmer point. There is no urgency to continue immediately, no pressure to maintain the earlier pace without adjustment. The work allows for these moments of stillness. After a short rest, the worker resumes. His movements are once again steady, though still mindful of the heat. The repetition of tasks continues in a balanced way. Effort followed by brief recovery. Action followed by pause. The environment remains stable. The sky is clear. The light is strong and unwavering. The air holds warmth that feels consistent rather than changing rapidly. A faint breeze may pass through the area at times, bringing a brief sense of relief before settling again into stillness. The Nile continues its quiet flow nearby. Its presence offers a subtle contrast to the warmth of the land. The water remains in motion, unaffected by the intensity of the sun above, continuing its path with the same steady rhythm it has maintained since the morning. The worker adjusts his position slightly. He shifts his stance to remain comfortable during the ongoing work. His movements remain controlled and familiar. There is no tension in his actions, only awareness of the conditions and a natural response to them. Around him, the group maintains a similar balance. Work continues, but with an emphasis on sustainability rather than speed. Each individual contributes at a pace that allows the effort to remain consistent over time. The midday period is marked not by acceleration, but by endurance, a steady continuation of activity within the warmth of the day. The worker wipes his brow briefly, a small gesture, then returns his attention fully to the task. His focus remains on the present moment. Each action is completed before the next begins. There is no distraction, only the sequence of movements required to carry out the work. Time passes in a quiet way. The sun remains high. The light remains strong. The activity continues, steady and controlled. The midday environment holds a calm intensity, warm, bright, and consistent. A stage of the day where effort is maintained through balance rather than force. And within this setting, the worker continues his labor, moving through the heat with measured steps, maintaining the rhythm that carries the day forward. The sun begins its gradual descent from its highest point.
It does not move in a way that is easily seen moment by moment, but over time its position shifts, and with it the quality of light across the land begins to change. The brightness remains strong, yet it softens slightly. The harshest intensity of midday slowly gives way to a more balanced illumination. Shadows begin to lengthen again, though only subtly at first. They stretch just a little farther than before, marking the quiet transition from the peak of the day into its later hours. The air still holds warmth, but the sense of heat begins to ease, very slowly, not disappearing, just becoming less concentrated. The worker continues his task. His movements remain steady, but there is a slight return to a more comfortable rhythm compared to the height of midday. The pauses between actions are still present, but they feel more natural now, less influenced by the intensity of the sun. Lift, adjust, place, continue. The sequence remains unchanged, but the conditions around it have shifted gently. Around him, the group maintains its coordinated effort. Work continues across the space, with individuals focusing on their respective roles. The overall pace remains consistent, neither accelerating nor slowing dramatically. Instead, it settles into a balanced state that reflects both the completion of earlier effort and the gradual easing of environmental pressure. The sounds of labor persist, soft and continuous. They blend into the background of the afternoon, forming a steady layer of activity that supports focus without drawing attention away from individual tasks. The worker pauses briefly. This time, the pause feels slightly longer than the shorter breaks taken during the height of midday. He stands upright, allowing his body to rest for a moment. His breathing remains calm, his posture relaxed. He looks over the area without focusing on anything in particular, simply allowing his eyes to rest before returning to the work. The sun continues its slow movement across the sky. Its light remains bright, but the angle changes enough to subtly alter how it falls across the ground. Surfaces that were fully exposed earlier now receive light at a slightly different angle, creating gentle variations in brightness and shadow. The Nile continues its steady flow nearby. Its surface reflects the afternoon light with a quiet shimmer. The movement of the water remains unchanged, carrying on with the same consistency it has maintained throughout the day. A faint breeze passes through the area. It is not constant, but appears intermittently, bringing brief moments of cooler air that move across the workers and then fade away. The worker resumes his task. His hands return to their familiar motions. The tools respond as expected. The materials he works with continue to change gradually through repeated effort. There is no rush in the process. Each action builds upon the last in a slow and steady progression. Around him, others continue their work as well. Some adjust their positions slightly to remain comfortable. Others take brief pauses before continuing. The overall environment remains calm, with no disruption to the flow of activity. Time passes in this early afternoon period in a quiet, steady way. The intensity of midday has softened, but the work remains ongoing. The balance between effort and rest is maintained naturally. The worker's attention remains on the present task. His movements are consistent. His pace is measured. There is a sense of continuity in his actions, as if the work itself flows through him, rather than requiring constant conscious direction. The environment reflects this same continuity. The light is stable. The air is warm but manageable. The sounds of activity remain gentle and uninterrupted. The village, though not the focus of this immediate space, continues its own rhythms in the background. Some individuals may be returning from earlier tasks.
others preparing for later parts of the day, all within the same larger cycle that governs daily life. The worker takes another brief pause. He lowers his tool slightly, resting his hands before continuing. His body remains comfortable, his mind calm. After a short moment, he resumes his work once more. The pattern continues without interruption. Action, pause, action again. The early afternoon moves forward slowly. The sun continues its gradual path downward. The shadows lengthen a little more, and the environment settles into a stable balance between warmth, light, and activity. The day is now past its midpoint, and yet it remains fully active, steady, unhurried, continuing forward in the same quiet rhythm that has guided it from morning through midday into this gentler afternoon phase.
The sun now reaches its highest point in the sky. Its light is direct and steady, covering the land evenly without long shadows. The brightness is consistent, filling the open space where the workers stand and move, making every surface clearly visible. The air begins to feel warmer, not uncomfortable in an abrupt way, but noticeably more intense than the earlier hours of the morning. The warmth settles gently over the ground, rising slowly from the earth and surrounding the workers as they continue their tasks. The rhythm of labor begins to shift slightly, not stopping, not ending, but adjusting. Movements become a little more measured, a little more deliberate. The worker continues his task, though his pace reflects the change in conditions. His hands still follow the familiar sequence of actions, but there is a subtle awareness of the heat that now accompanies each movement. Lift, adjust, place, pause, then continue. The pauses between actions become slightly more frequent, short moments of stillness that allow the body to remain balanced in the growing warmth. Around him, others respond in similar ways. The overall activity remains present, but the intensity softens. The coordinated effort continues, yet with a quieter, more measured energy than before. The sounds of labor remain steady. Tools still meet materials. Footsteps continue to mark movement across the ground, but the pace of these sounds feels slightly slower, matching the adjustment in physical effort. The sun remains high. Its position does not change quickly, but the passage of time is felt through the increasing warmth that surrounds the space. The ground absorbs the light, holding and reflecting heat back into the air. The worker pauses for a longer moment than before. He stands upright, allowing his body to rest briefly. His breathing is steady, his posture relaxed. He does not leave his place, but remains within the work area, taking a quiet pause before continuing. Nearby, others do the same. Some step slightly aside from their tasks. Others remain in place, simply resting their hands or lowering their tools for a short period. These pauses are natural, part of the rhythm of the day as it reaches its warmer point. There is no urgency to continue immediately, no pressure to maintain the earlier pace without adjustment. The work allows for these moments of stillness. After a short rest, the worker resumes. His movements are once again steady, though still mindful of the heat. The repetition of tasks continues in a balanced way. Effort followed by brief recovery. Action followed by pause. The environment remains stable. The sky is clear. The light is strong and unwavering. The air holds warmth that feels consistent rather than changing rapidly. A faint breeze may pass through the area at times, bringing a brief sense of relief before settling again into stillness.
The Nile continues its quiet flow nearby. Its presence offers a subtle contrast to the warmth of the land. The air holds warmth that feels consistent rather than changing rapidly. A faint breeze may pass through the area at times, bringing a brief sense of relief before settling again into stillness. The Nile continues its quiet flow nearby. Its presence offers a subtle contrast to the warmth of the land. The water remains in motion, unaffected by the intensity of the sun above, continuing its path with the same steady rhythm it has maintained since the morning. The worker adjusts his position slightly. He shifts his stance to remain comfortable during the ongoing work. His movements remain controlled and familiar. There is no tension in his actions, only awareness of the conditions and a natural response to them. Around him, the group maintains a similar balance. Work continues, but with an emphasis on sustainability rather than speed. Each individual contributes at a pace that allows the effort to remain consistent over time. The midday period is marked not by acceleration, but by endurance, a steady continuation of activity within the warmth of the day. The worker wipes his brow briefly, a small gesture, then returns his attention fully to the task. His focus remains on the present moment. Each action is completed before the next begins. There is no distraction, only the sequence of movements required to carry out the work. Time passes in a quiet way. The sun remains high. The light remains strong. The activity continues, steady and controlled. The midday environment holds a calm intensity, warm, bright, and consistent. A stage of the day where effort is maintained through balance rather than force. And within this setting, the worker continues his labor, moving through the heat with measured steps, maintaining the rhythm that carries the day forward.
The light of the day begins to soften. It is still present, still warm across the land, but the angle of the sun continues to lower, signaling that the long hours of work are approaching their close. Shadows stretch farther now. They lengthen across the ground, reaching out in quiet lines that move slowly as time passes. The brightness is no longer overhead, but angled, gentle and steady. Within the work area, movement begins to slow. Not abruptly, not all at once, but in a natural, shared understanding that the day's labor is reaching its end. The worker completes his current task. His hands move through the final steps with the same familiar rhythm he has maintained throughout the day. Lift, place, adjust. Then a final pause. He steps back slightly, looking over the portion of work he has completed. There is no need for judgment or reflection beyond simple recognition that the task has reached a stopping point for the day. Around him, others also begin to conclude their activities. Tools are lowered. Materials are left in a stable, prepared state for the next time work resumes. Movements across the space become less frequent, gradually transitioning from active labor into quiet completion. The sounds of work begin to fade. The repeated contact of tools with surfaces lessens. Footsteps become fewer. The environment shifts from continuous activity to a calmer, more settled presence. The worker gathers his tools. Each item is handled with care, placed in their proper position. Not rushed, not delayed, just a simple and familiar process of ending the day's work. Others nearby do the same. There is a sense of coordination in this final stage as individuals complete their tasks and prepare to leave the work area. No one leaves abruptly. The transition is gradual and orderly. The sun continues its descent toward the horizon. Its light becomes softer, casting a warm tone across the landscape that signals the approaching evening. The air begins to cool slightly, not quickly, but enough to be felt as a gentle change from the warmth of the earlier hours.
The Nile continues its steady movement nearby. Its surface reflects the lowering light, creating a calm shimmer that shifts as the water flows. The worker stands with his tools gathered. He takes a final look at the area where he worked. This moment is brief, quiet. There is no need for words or extended attention, only a natural acknowledgement that the day's effort has been completed. He turns and begins to walk away from the workspace. His steps are steady, unhurried. Around him, others move in the same direction, leaving the area together or in small groups. The paths begin to see movement again, now in the opposite direction of the morning's arrival. People return toward their homes. The village slowly becomes more active in this transitional way, not through labor, but through return. The light continues to soften as the sun lowers further. Long shadows stretch across the ground, creating a calm pattern of light and shade that marks the passage from day into evening. The worker walks along the familiar path back to his home. His body carries the quiet fatigue of the day's effort, but it is balanced with a sense of completion. His breathing remains steady, his posture relaxed. The environment around him is peaceful. No urgency remains in the movement of people, only the shared rhythm of returning. As he approaches his home, the shapes of the buildings become more defined in the softer light. Doors and entrances are visible again, and the interior spaces begin to appear inviting after the long hours spent outside. He steps inside. The transition from the open space of work to the enclosed calm of home is gentle. The light inside is dimmer than outside, but comfortable. He places his tools in their designated area, each item returned to its place as part of a routine that mirrors the structure of the workday itself. There was a sense of order in this final action, a quiet closing of the cycle that began in the morning. Around him, others in the household begin to settle as well. Some sit, others prepare simple arrangements for the evening. Movements are slower now, reflecting the shift from active labor to rest and recovery. The worker takes a moment to stand quietly within the space. The day has ended, not abruptly, but completely. The work is done, the tools are set aside, and the time for rest and evening life has begun. Outside, the sky continues to change. The sun is near the horizon, and the light across the land takes on a softer tone, preparing for the calm transition into night once again. The cycle, steady and familiar, moves forward into its next phase. And within the quiet of the home, the worker settles into the evening, leaving behind the effort of the day and entering the slower, more restful rhythm that follows.
The light outside continues to soften. The sun lowers toward the horizon, and the colors of the sky shift into warmer, gentler tones. The brightness of the day is no longer strong and direct, but diffused across the land in a calm, even way. Inside the home, the worker settles into the slower pace of the evening. His body carries the quiet weight of a full day of labor, not heavy in a harsh sense, but present, a natural tiredness that comes from steady effort over many hours. He sits down in a comfortable position. His movements are unhurried. There is no need to rush into the next activity. The day's work has already been completed, and now the focus shifts toward rest, nourishment, and stillness. Around him, others in the household move gently through their evening routines. Simple tasks begin to take place. Food is prepared. Ingredients are handled with care. Containers are opened and closed. Small amounts of grain, bread, or other provisions are arranged for the meal. The process is familiar, repetitive, comforting in its predictability. The sounds within the home are soft, light movement, occasional quiet conversation, the subtle interaction between individuals sharing the same space after a day of separate work. The worker remains seated for a moment, allowing his body to settle further. His breathing is steady, his posture relaxed. His mind is no longer focused on tasks or physical effort. It begins to ease into the quieter atmosphere of the evening. Outside, the village reflects a similar transition. People return to their homes. Paths that were active during the day now see fewer movements. Doors remain open in some homes, while others are gently closed as the evening progresses. The overall environment becomes quieter, more contained, and more personal. Within the household, the preparation of food continues. Simple meals are arranged and shared among those present. There is no excess, only what is needed for nourishment after the day's labor. The worker receives his portion. He holds it with both hands, taking a moment before beginning to eat. The act is calm and unhurried. Each bite is taken slowly. The body, having spent the day in motion, now shifts into a state of receiving and restoring. The surrounding atmosphere remains steady. The light inside the home is dimmer than outside, but sufficient to see clearly. If there is any remaining source of flame or light, it provides a soft glow that fills the space without dominating it. The meal continues in quiet rhythm. Eat, pause, continue. There is no rush, no distraction, only the simple act of eating and the presence of others nearby. After the meal, the worker sets aside what remains. He cleans his hands in a simple way, using water if available, or another familiar method within the household. These actions are small, but they mark the transition from the active part of the day into its more restful phase. Conversation within the home remains light and minimal. If spoken, it is brief and practical. There is no need for extended discussion. The tone of the evening favors calm rather than activity. The worker shifts his position slightly. He leans back or adjusts where he sits, allowing his body to relax further. The sense of physical effort from the day begins to settle. Muscles ease. Posture becomes more at rest. The air inside the home is stable. It carries a balance between the warmth of the day and the cooling of the approaching night. Outside, the sky continues its transition. The sun is now near or below the horizon, and the colors of sunset may be visible in the distance. Soft tones of orange, pink, and muted gold blend into the deepening blue of the evening sky. The Nile reflects these changes subtly, its surface shifting in tone as the light fades. Within the home, the atmosphere becomes even quieter. Activities slow further. Some members of the household may begin preparing for rest. Others remain seated for a while longer, simply sharing the space in silence or in quiet presence. The worker sits comfortably. His eyes may rest or look softly around the room without focusing on anything in particular. There is no urgency in thought, no pressure to engage in activity. The day has completed its full cycle of work, movement, and return. Now, the evening offers a space of stillness, a gentle transition toward night. Time moves forward at a calm pace. The sounds of the outside world diminish. The village settles. Homes become quieter. And within this shared stillness, the worker remains at ease, resting in the quiet rhythm that follows the completion of a full day.
The evening continues to fade. Outside, the last traces of sunlight disappear from the horizon, leaving behind a sky that gradually deepens into darker shades of blue and then into night. The transition is slow and steady. There is no sharp boundary between day and night, only a gentle blending of light into darkness. Within the home, the atmosphere becomes quieter still. The meal has ended. The simple tasks of the evening are complete. The movement that once filled the space has now settled into stillness. The worker remains seated for a while longer. His body is relaxed, his breathing calm and even.
The sense of fatigue from the day is present, but it is no longer active or demanding. It rests within him as a quiet, natural state. Around him, others in the household also grow quieter. Some lie down on their resting places. Others remain seated briefly before preparing to sleep. The sounds within the home diminish further. Only soft, occasional movements remain. The adjustment of a mat, a slight shift in posture, the subtle settling of people into their chosen resting positions. The light inside the home grows dimmer. If any flame or source of illumination remains, it is low and steady, casting a faint glow that outlines the edges of the space without fully revealing every detail. The room becomes more defined by shadow and shape than by brightness. The worker begins to prepare for rest. He adjusts his position, moving toward the area where he will lie down. His movements are slow and familiar. There is no hesitation in the process. It is a routine he has followed many times before. He lies down on his mat. His body settles into a comfortable position. His arms rest naturally. His legs relax. His posture becomes still. The air in the room is calm. Outside, the night has fully taken hold. The sky is dark, with stars appearing as small, steady points of light above. The village is quiet. Houses rest in silence. Paths are empty. The activity of the day has fully transitioned into the stillness of night. Inside the home, breathing becomes the primary sound, soft, rhythmic, uninterrupted. The worker's eyes close. His thoughts begin to fade, not abruptly, but gradually as awareness of the surroundings gives way to the beginning of sleep. The body releases the remaining tension from the day. Muscles relax further. The weight of the day settles into rest. Around him, others have already entered sleep or are in the final moments before doing so. The household is now in a state of complete quiet. No conversation, no movement of purpose, only the calm presence of resting bodies within the enclosed space. The faint glow of light dims further until it is nearly gone. Darkness fills the room, soft and even, without disturbance. Outside, the Nile continues its steady flow through the night. Its movement is constant, unchanged by the stillness of the village. The air remains cool and stable. A light breeze may pass occasionally, moving gently across the land before fading again into silence. The worker is now at full rest, his breathing slow and steady, his mind no longer active in any focused way. Sleep takes hold completely. The transition from waking to rest is complete, closing the cycle that began with the first light of morning. The day has ended as it began, in quiet stages, without interruption, through waking, work, movement, return, and now rest. The village, the river, the land, and the people all settle into the same rhythm that has guided them through countless days. Night surrounds everything, soft, calm, unchanging, and within it, life pauses gently, held in the quiet stillness that prepares for the return of another morning. The worker sleeps, and the world around him remains at ease.
The night remains still. It holds the village in a calm, even darkness that stretches across the land without interruption. The sky above is steady, filled with distant stars that do not change in appearance, only in position as time passes slowly through the hours. Inside the home, the worker sleeps deeply. His breathing is slow and consistent. There is no movement of effort in his body now,
only the quiet rest that follows a full day of physical labor. His posture remains unchanged, relaxed in the position he settled into earlier. The surrounding space is silent. Other members of the household rest as well. Each person within the room is at ease, their presence contributing to the shared stillness of the night. No one speaks. No one moves with purpose. Only the natural, subtle signs of sleep are present. Outside, the village is equally quiet. Houses stand in darkness, their forms barely visible under the night sky. Paths that were active during the day are now empty and undisturbed. The transition from activity to rest is complete across the entire community. The Nile continues its steady movement nearby. Its flow is constant, unaffected by the stillness of the land. Even in the darkness, it maintains its path, carrying water forward in a quiet, continuous motion that never pauses. A faint breeze may pass through the area at intervals. It moves gently across the surface of the land, touches the reeds along the river, and then fades again into stillness. These moments are brief and subtle, blending into the overall quiet of the night rather than breaking it. Inside the home, the air remains calm and stable. The temperature is cool, balanced by the enclosed space and the absence of direct sunlight. There is no change in the environment that requires attention, only rest. Time continues to pass in a slow, unmarked way. There are no signals or indicators within the room to mark the passage of hours, only the steady presence of sleep and stillness. The worker remains in deep rest. His mind is not focused on any single thought. Instead, it rests in a quiet state where awareness is minimal and uninterrupted. His body remains still, recovering from the effort of the day. Muscles are relaxed. Breathing is natural. Everything is at ease. Around him, the household maintains the same quiet balance, each person resting within their own space, yet part of the shared environment that defines the home. The faint glow that once illuminated the room has fully diminished. Darkness now fills the interior completely. It is soft and even, without sharp contrast. Shapes are no longer clearly defined, but exist instead as subtle outlines within the darkness. Outside, the sky remains clear. Stars continue to shine steadily above the land. The moon, if present, provides a gentle light that softly outlines the edges of the environment, giving a faint sense of depth to the night without disturbing its calm nature. The Nile reflects this quiet scene as it flows. Its surface carries the faintest hints of light and shadow, shifting as the water moves, always in motion, always steady. The worker continues to sleep. There is no interruption, no disturbance, only the continuation of rest that began earlier in the evening and now extends through the deeper hours of the night. The cycle of the day has reached its resting point. Work has been completed. Food has been taken. The body has been set into rest. And now, in this quiet portion of time, everything remains in balance. The village, the river, the land, and the people are all part of the same gentle rhythm that carries each day forward into the next. Nothing demands attention. Nothing requires action. Only stillness. Only quiet continuation. The night holds steady, and within it, life rests without interruption, waiting calmly for the first hint of light that will eventually begin the cycle once more. The night continues without change. Time moves forward, but nothing in the immediate surroundings marks its passing in a visible way. The darkness remains steady, deep and calm, covering the land in a quiet, even layer that softens all shapes and distances. Inside the home, the worker sleeps on. His breathing remains slow and consistent. There are no sudden movements, no shifts that disturb his rest. His body stays in the same position, fully at ease after the long cycle of the previous day. The stillness within the room is complete. Others in the household continue to sleep as well. Each person rests in their own space, yet all are part of the same shared quiet that fills the home during these hours. There is no sound of speech, no activity that requires attention, only the faint presence of breathing, barely noticeable, blending into the silence. Outside, the village rests under the night sky. Houses are dark and still. Paths remain empty. The spaces that were once filled with movement and labor now hold only silence. The transition from day to night has settled fully, and the environment remains in this state without interruption. The Nile flows steadily through the landscape. Its motion is constant, a continuous presence that does not change with the time of day. Even in darkness, it moves forward, carrying water along its course in a quiet and unbroken rhythm. A light breeze may pass through the area from time to time. It moves gently across open spaces, touches the reeds near the river, and then fades again into stillness. These moments are subtle and brief, adding small variations to the otherwise steady calm of the night. Inside the home, the air remains cool and balanced. There are no changes in temperature that draw attention. The enclosed space maintains a comfortable environment for rest, allowing sleep to continue without disturbance. The worker remains fully asleep. His mind is not active in any focused way. There are no clear thoughts that require attention, only the natural state of rest, where awareness is quiet and minimal. Time continues to pass, slowly, without markers, without interruption. The night holds its position, maintaining the same level of darkness and stillness that has been present for hours. The sky above remains filled with stars, distant and steady. Their light does not shift quickly, but remains constant as the night progresses. The moon, if visible, continues to provide a soft illumination that outlines the land in a gentle and unobtrusive way. The river reflects this quiet scene as it moves. Its surface is in constant motion, yet the movement is smooth and uninterrupted, blending into the overall calm of the environment. Within the home, the worker's body remains fully at rest. Muscles are relaxed. Breathing continues at a steady pace. There is no tension in his posture, no need for adjustment. Sleep continues naturally, without disruption. Around him, the household maintains the same quiet balance, each person resting, each space still, all contributing to the shared atmosphere of the night. There are no changes in activity, no signs of movement that would indicate the approach of waking, only the continuation of rest. The darkness outside remains unchanged. The village stays silent. The land holds steady under the night sky. And within this extended period of stillness, the cycle of daily life rests at its deepest point, a pause between one day and the next, a calm interval where nothing is required, only the quiet passage of time. The worker sleeps on, and the night continues, unbroken and steady, holding the world in a gentle state of rest as it moves slowly toward the first signs of dawn once again. The night holds steady for a while longer. Darkness remains across the land, calm and even, with no sudden changes to break its quiet presence. The sky is still filled with distant stars, their light soft and unchanged, while the earth below rests in complete stillness. Inside the home, the worker continues to sleep. His breathing is slow and regular. There is no movement that suggests waking yet. His body remains fully at rest, settled into the same position as before, maintaining the natural stillness that has carried through the night. The household remains quiet. All those within the space continue to sleep, each in their own place, all sharing the same calm environment. No voices, no activity, only the presence of rest. Outside, the village is unchanged in its silence. Houses stand in darkness. Paths remain empty. The landscape is quiet, with no visible movement among the structures that define the community. The Nile continues its steady flow. Its movement is constant, unaffected by the stillness of the surrounding land. It moves forward through the darkness, carrying water along its path in a rhythm that does not pause. A faint breeze may pass occasionally, moving gently across the surface of the land, and then fading again into stillness. These brief moments are subtle and do not disturb the overall quiet of the night. Within the home, the air remains cool and stable. There are no shifts in temperature that require adjustment. The environment continues to support rest in a consistent and balanced way. The worker remains asleep. His mind is not engaged in any active thought. His awareness rests in a quiet state, free from focus or direction. Time continues to pass, slowly, without visible markers. The night remains deep, but at the edges of the horizon there is the faintest suggestion of change beginning once again. It is not yet visible in a clear way, not yet strong enough to define the transition, but something subtle begins to form, a slight softening in the darkness at the far edge of the sky. Inside the room, no one reacts to this change. Sleep continues uninterrupted. The worker's body remains still, breathing steady, posture unchanged. The household remains in full rest. Outside, the environment also holds its quiet balance. The village remains dark. The river continues its movement. The land is still. But within the overall stillness, the earliest hint of transition has begun again, marking the quiet approach of another cycle. This change is extremely gradual. It does not affect the immediate environment in any noticeable way, but it signals the continuation of the natural rhythm that governs the passage from night into day. For now, the darkness remains dominant. The stars continue to shine. The moon, if present, casts its soft and gentle light across the landscape. Everything is calm. Everything is still. The worker sleeps without interruption, and the night continues, holding the world in a quiet and steady state as it slowly moves toward the next beginning. The darkness begins to soften once again. It does not change quickly or all at once. Instead, it loosens gradually at the edges of the horizon, where the deepest tones of night start to blend into the faintest suggestion of light. Inside the home, the worker continues to sleep. His breathing remains slow and steady. There is a subtle sense of continuity in his rest, as though his body is moving naturally through the final stretch of the night without interruption. He does not stir. He does not wake. Only the quiet rhythm of sleep remains present. Around him, the household remains still. Each person continues to rest in their place, the space filled with the calm and even presence of shared quiet. There is no movement of purpose, no activity that marks the beginning of the day, only the continuation of rest. Outside, the village remains quiet as well. Houses are still dark, paths are empty. The environment holds its steady form under the night sky. The Nile continues its gentle flow, carrying water along its course with the same consistent motion it has maintained throughout the night. Its surface reflects the faintest hints of the changing sky, though the difference is still very subtle. The stars remain visible, though their presence begins to feel slightly less dominant as the first signs of light return at the horizon. The sky is not yet bright, but it is no longer completely uniform in darkness. A faint gradient begins to form, almost imperceptible at first, a soft transition that suggests the slow return of morning. Inside the home, the worker remains in deep rest. His body is relaxed, muscles are at ease. His posture is unchanged. There is no movement that would indicate awareness of the approaching light. Sleep continues without disruption. Time passes in a quiet and steady manner. The night is still present, but it is no longer at its deepest point. A gradual shift is underway, though it remains subtle and gentle. The environment itself reflects this change in the most understated way. The darkness is slightly less uniform. The edges of distant forms, though still mostly hidden, begin to feel a little less indistinct than before. There is no sudden brightness, only a slow and natural easing of the night. The worker continues to rest. His breathing remains consistent. No external sound or movement reaches him in a way that would interrupt his sleep. The household remains in silence. Outside, the village holds its position in the final hours of the night. Everything is calm. Everything is still. And yet, within this stillness, the transition toward another morning has already begun again. It is a process that unfolds without attention, without urgency. A quiet continuation of the cycle that has already repeated many times before. The river flows. The sky slowly shifts. The land remains at rest. And within the home, the worker sleeps, carried gently through the final portion of the night as the earliest hints of dawn begin to return once more. The first light of dawn begins to spread more clearly across the horizon. It is still soft, not bright or intense, but now it is visible in a more defined way. The darkness of the night slowly gives way, not all at once, but in a calm and gradual transition that feels natural and unhurried. Inside the home, the worker continues to sleep. His breathing remains steady. There is a quiet depth to his rest, the kind that comes after many hours of uninterrupted sleep through the night. His body remains still. There is no immediate response to the change outside, no sudden movement, only the continuation of sleep as the environment around him slowly begins to brighten. The household is still. All those within the space remain asleep, their presence quiet and stable. No one has yet begun to wake. The room is filled with the soft, silent atmosphere of early morning before activity begins. Outside, the village begins to take on a slightly more visible form. Houses that were once only faint outlines in the darkness now start to appear with more clarity. Paths and open spaces become more distinguishable, though still gently covered in the low light of early dawn. The Nile reflects the growing light across its surface. Its movement remains steady and unchanged, but the appearance of the water becomes more noticeable as the sky brightens. Subtle variations in light and shadow move along with the flow of the river, creating a calm and continuous visual rhythm.
The sky itself continues to brighten. The deep tones of night are now replaced by softer shades, not yet the full brightness of day, but a peaceful in-between state, where both night and morning seem to exist together for a short time. The stars begin to fade, becoming less visible as the light increases. Their presence slowly diminishes, not disappearing instantly, but blending into the growing brightness of the sky. A faint breeze may pass across the land again. It moves gently, carrying the coolness of early morning air. It touches the surfaces of the environment lightly, and then fades away, leaving the stillness undisturbed. Inside the home, the worker remains asleep. His posture remains unchanged. His breathing continues at a calm and even pace. The body rests fully, recovering from the demands of the previous day and the long hours of night. There is no urgency in the environment, no sudden change that requires immediate attention, only the gradual return of light. Time continues forward in a quiet manner. The transition from night to morning progresses steadily, without interruption. The household remains at rest, the village remains calm, and the river continues its flow, unaffected by the changing sky above. The early signs of morning are now clearly present. The world is slowly preparing to shift once again into activity, though for this moment everything remains in a peaceful balance between rest and awakening. The worker sleeps on, and the dawn continues to grow, gently filling the land with light as the final moments of night fade into the beginning of a new day.
The light of early morning continues to grow. It does so quietly, without force, spreading across the sky in a slow and steady way. The transition from night to day feels gentle, as if the world is gradually opening its eyes after a long period of rest. Inside the home, the worker remains asleep for a little longer. His breathing is calm. His body is relaxed. There is no movement yet to mark the return of wakefulness. The room around him is softly illuminated now by the pale light of dawn filtering in from outside. Shapes within the space are clearer than before. Walls, resting places, and simple household objects are more visible, though still softened by the gentle quality of the morning light. Other members of the household begin to stir, not all at once, but in subtle and quiet ways. A slight shift in position, a slow change in breathing. The earliest signs of waking begin to appear naturally, without urgency. No one rises quickly, no one speaks. The atmosphere remains calm, maintaining the quiet tone that has carried through the night into the morning. Outside, the village is also beginning to reawaken. The light of dawn now touches the tops of houses, the edges of pathways, and the open areas near the river. Details that were hidden in darkness are now visible again, though still softened by the gentle light of early day. The Nile reflects the brightness of the sky more clearly. Its surface carries a subtle shimmer as the light interacts with the moving water. The flow of the river remains steady, unchanged in rhythm, continuing its long and continuous journey. The air of the morning feels cool and fresh. A light breeze may move through the area, carrying with it the quiet stillness that remains from the night, now blending into the beginning of daily activity. Inside the home, the worker begins to approach the edge of wakefulness, not suddenly, not with urgency, but slowly, as awareness returns in a natural and familiar way. His breathing shifts slightly. His body remains at rest for a few moments longer before any movement begins. The transition from sleep to waking is gradual, mirroring the same gentle pace that has defined the movement from night into day. The household around him is in a similar state of quiet awakening. Some remain asleep for a little longer.
Others begin to become more aware of their surroundings. There is still no noise of conversation or activity that would mark the full start of the day, only the soft and early signs of life returning to movement. The light of morning now fills the space more fully. The darkness of the night has faded completely, replaced by a calm and balanced daylight that brings clarity without intensity. Everything appears steady and familiar. The environment, the river, the village, and the home all rest within the same quiet beginning of a new day. The cycle continues, as it always has, night into morning, rest into waking, stillness into gentle movement. The worker, like others around him, will soon rise and return to the rhythm of daily life, but for this moment, everything remains soft and quiet. The day has just begun, and in this early light, the world feels calm, stable, and at ease, holding the peaceful pause between sleep and activity as another cycle quietly starts again.